Alright, good evening everyone. So I've been back out in the observatory for the last 3 nights, just messing around trying to find different settings and approaches to use with the RASA, as it's been a while since I've used it. So it's the RASA 11 and using the ASI2600 camera and mounted on top of the Celestron CGX-L mount. So over the last 3 nights I've used 3 different approaches and I still haven't got exactly what I'm looking for, so I might make it a 4th night, tonight or tomorrow night. But as you can see here, here's 3 sample subs of the Pacman Nebula NGC 281, which is in the Cassiopeia constellation, and it's around about 9,500 light years from us, and is approximately 100 light years in diameter. So the top left image was taken with a 30-second exposure time using a gain of 100 and no filter. And the top right image, this was on night 2. This was taken with a 5-second exposure with a gain of 50, and that was using the Bresser UV-IR cut filter. And then last night, this was again the bottom image, a 5-second exposure with a gain of 50, and this time I was using the Bresser UHC-S nebula filter or hydro contrast filter. And you can see just with the 3 different images how the first one with a longer exposure time has got less noise compared to the other 2. However, you can also see that they've got more enhanced or more saturated, bloated stars even for just a 30-second image, and we'll see more of that when I come into the actual stacking. So for the stacking itself, let me just pull up Deep Sky. So for Deep Sky, each night I loaded all the subs and did the register on them, and this came up obviously with a score and a number of stars detected in the image, and the column here and the column on the far right hand side. And using that I went and stacked using various different settings in DESS. And started with a lot of subs and then slowly cut it down, almost effectively halving the number of subs on each attempt, just to see how it would come out for the various exposures over the course of the 3 nights. So for the first night, we nip over to PixInsight now. So this is the images, or the stacked images from DSS. So for, I can't remember how many settings, how many subs are in each of these. The bottom right one has actually been cropped down more into the core of the nebula, and the top 3 are probably 600 and 300 subs and 150 subs or something like that. But with no filter and a gain of 100. They're all the same sub exposure length and gain setting. And you can see just how many stars the RASA's picked up for those number of images. And if we look at this one in particular, this is the one that I cropped down. You can see, even there the stars, although they're relatively well focused, they're still heavily bloated and saturated. When I tried to use the likes of StarNet to remove these to give me a starless image, it was struggling to even do that, and we were getting weird remnants around where each of the stars was that I just couldn't get rid of in the processing. So this was what night's 1 images. So if we go across to the second night, so again I used a variety of subs counts for each of these 6 images. So the range that I've written down here from 600 to 300 to 150 to 75 and then to 32. That's for these 5 on the bottom right bottom row, sorry, and the top right two. These ones that have got the strange green halo around the inner circle, and the one on the top left, this was actually done using a different method. This was done with the the averaging in the stacking, where the others were using the weighted adaptive weighted average, I think it's called. And also the top left one didn't use any flats or darks, it was just the raw light frames that were stacked, 100 of them. So using these, I then had a few playing around again in PixInsight and came up with these three exposures, and we can see the various different levels of contrast and saturation in each of these images. So using, I can't remember which one it was one in the top right or the middle one, I took these across and continued to try and process it further. At the top you can see we've got the starless image and the star remnants, and for some reason in the processing on the star field there's a bright blue core which I don't understand where it's coming from or how to filter that out, because I tried various background eliminations and curves and histograms and all various things, but just couldn't get rid of them out of the image. So after continuing to play with various things, I came up with these two images, and you can see how much noise still exists with these. So these are with the 50 gain and the 5-second exposures. And the other image, let me just close this one again, and there we go. And you can see again, now this one I tried to soften some of the noise, but that failed miserably as well. And anyway, that's where we got to with that. So this one, these second night images, as I said, also included the use of the UV IR cup filter. So then this brings us to last night. So again, these were 5 seconds, 50 gain, using the Bada UHCS filter, and stacked again using the adapted weighted average, and then just stacked using the average in DSS settings, and you can see the difference there again. So the ones at the bottom, I believe, are 58 frames, 5 seconds each, for a total integration time of 4 minutes and 50 seconds without using any flats or darks. Excuse me. So continued to process that one further, and managed to get a relatively clean extracted starless image, although you can see some very slight artifacts from where the stars have been, but I do have this reddish ring around the perimeter which would tie in with this sort of area here we can see on the other method. So that's something I still need to continue to iron out in the optical train and in the processing, how to get rid of that. And then the star mask itself, again, we have this bluish green ring where the nebula would actually sit in the image. And the star mask has had the curves pulled down on it to try and remove some of the intensity of all the stars, and I tried various background and gradients and all sorts of stuff to try and remove this blue ring, however I just couldn't get rid of it. So taking these two and recombining them, once I'd messed around with them the best I could, I came up with these two final images. The first one on the left, that's the full 26 megapixel or whatever it is for that camera, 6133 by 4086, and the right is a 2560 by 2560 crop, around the nebula core. So that's where we got to, and tonight or the next night, whenever I get back out again, I'm going to try increasing the exposure length again to try and reduce the amount of noise in the image, and I'm also going to pull the gain down further. One of the RASA groups on Facebook, Alan Richards, they recommended taking the gain down to 0 and running significantly longer exposures, and see how that comes out. So that's what I'm going to try next. And as well, I'm just going to keep plodding away, watching all the various tutorials on YouTube. And I also decided to get myself a copy of the Inside Pixinsight to try and have a read through that and see what some of these tools do, because processing is certainly not my forte at the moment, and I still haven't spent enough time and built up a decent process workflow for trying to do some of this stuff. Despite watching hours of content from Sean and Luke from Lucamatimo and various other channels. So that's it, all for just now. On that note, I say thank you very much, and please put any comments and feedback and processing tips down in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one, and hopefully we'll get some better results on the next night, capturing the same image. Okay, so that's NGC 281, the Pacman Nebula, and that's it for me. I'll see you later. Thank you very much for watching.